What's going on, comic fans? It is Mike from the Hardcover Comic here. Hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe and sound. 2020's coming to a close, but we still got some time left in December. So if you're looking for something new to read, I got something for you here. I've been doing my rereading thing, as you guys have probably seen if you're avid watchers of the channel. I've been going through my collection and rereading a lot of the books that I own, sort of talking about them again, giving a little retrospect on them, reading them now as opposed to back in the year I initially got them, the time I initially got them at. So today we're going to talk about the sequel basically, what they call the second cycle of the Meta Barons. The Meta Baron, this was written and drawn. These were published, within the past 4 or 5 years, I believe. So we got 3 volumes here containing 6 books, as they call them. Great stuff. I've got the oversized hardcovers here in front of me. They did release a single hardcover collection collecting the entire thing. It's called the Meta Barons Second Cycle. That may still be available. I think these are pretty hard to get and getting pretty expensive at this point because they are oversized and they're so pretty. We're going to take a look at the books, of course, from a top-down view, all that fun stuff. Look at the bonus content, which there isn't any, and the design, all things like that. But be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We do also have a Patreon, where every month we give away pretty much however much we've made. So you can get an omnibus, absolute edition, deluxe editions, multiple books sometimes. It's really fun. We do a drawing at the end of every month. Seems to be a good time so far. A lot of people are getting a lot of books they've wanted to get. Thanks to the giveaway, it's pretty cool. For every $1 you give, you get an entry into the drawing. If you're interested in merch, you probably can't see it, but I got my merch on. Merch or dust jacket designs. If you're interested in dust jackets, we do dust jacket designs as well. We've done them for a bunch of graphic covers of official omnis, whatever maybe you want to get designed. Hit us up at our email. It's down in the description below. Let's get into the Meta Baron Second Cycle, whatever you want to call it. Let's dive into the Hodoverse. Taking a look at the actual hardcovers themselves, we'll look at all 3 books, but I'm not going to flip through the third one. I don't want to spoil too much. I'll flip through a little bit, but just to show you guys the artwork here. So all of this, Jodorowsky's still credited on all 3 of these books. Friesen did most of the actual writing for these new stories. Of course, Jodorowsky's not writing new entries into the Meta Barons saga, but you get Valentin Setcher on artwork in the first volume, and then the second volume I forget who the artist is, but you'll see it. I show all the credits and all that in this video. So this picks up pretty much where the Meta Barons left off. We're continuing with the sort of current day Meta Baron and his adventures, what he's up to after the ending of the Meta Barons. I won't say what happened or spoil anything that happened within that epic space opera, but I highly recommend checking it out. What I really like about this, obviously the artwork is a significant departure from the style of Juan Jimenez. It's not as pencil-y and it's still got details for sure, but it's not that penciled detail that you saw with Jimenez. Still really, really nice. I really dug the artwork in volumes 1 and 3. Volume 2 gets a little closer to that Jimenez style, as we'll see. But what's really interesting about this book is the style of storytelling changes a little bit. You no longer have Tonto narrating things to anyone. It's just sort of what's happening to the Meta Baron. You're getting exposition that's sort of it is Tonto as well still, but it doesn't feel as robotic as the Meta Barons did when it came out, and it still does. It's a really great story, though. You still get to see Technos in here. They sort of expand on the Meta Baron saga. Of course, they start adding new elements to it. You get to see this character Wilhelm 100 show up with his little minion Tetanus. Which is very interesting. I really liked it. Each book sort of contains 2 chapters, let's say 56 pages or so each. So you're looking at about 112 to 15 pages per book here. There were 3 books released. We're looking at volume 2 here now, but they're supposed to be at the end of book 3. It says book 4 is coming. I haven't heard anything about it. They did release a hardcover called The Second Cycle, which collects all of these, so I'm a little confused as to what's happening with that volume 4. But here you can see volume 2, the artwork changed up a little bit, and it's a little more like Jimenez's style, but a pretty significant departure from the artwork we saw in volume 1. So it is a bit weird. Some of the characters aren't the best detail, and you know, it's all just relative, right? Relative to Jimenez and Schechter in the first volume. But either way, I really liked it. It was still a solid volume. Overall, the story's pretty good. I do like it. It's not as good as the Meta Barons. Obviously, it's a very difficult task to try and accomplish to be better than the Meta Barons, but still, honestly, not a terrible successor. I enjoyed it. It's still pretty crazy what happens, you know, with most of the Hotoverse, and especially the Meta Barons. There's all sorts of crazy twists and turns that you don't expect. You still get that to some degree here with the Meta Baron, but Frizen didn't go as far as Hodorowski did with some of his ideas. You get to see, again, some really cool new concepts show up here, more expansion of the Hotoverse. You start looking at different universes within the... It's very, very cool. Very, very fun stuff happening here. Great artwork throughout. There is, of course, nudity and gratuitous violence, as you would expect with Meta Baron stuff, I guess. Trying to make sure I don't flip to any naughty pages here, but... I really, really, really did dig this book. Again, it's a bit different. It's not, you know, it's weird because it still follows the Hotoverse, and I still really like the characters that you get to see here. It's really nice to see familiar faces, but it's just missing sort of that kind of spark of ingenuity. And of course, it's the problem with coming back to any sort of franchise, right? It's very difficult to come back to a franchise when the first... Let's say the initial release was so large and so monumental for people. Coming back and trying to salvage that is quite difficult. So here you see Volume 3. I remember reading when Volume 3 was being done that I think Esad Ribic was supposed to do it, and then Mukesh Singh was supposed to do it at one point. So it kept sort of going back and forth. It was very weird. I kept seeing images, this really cool, amazing artwork of what book 3 is going to look like, and it's still great. I mean, you know, we got the same art that we have in Volume 1. Very pretty book. I really, really liked it. Hopefully, we do get to see book 4 because I'd love to read that. What did you think? Is the Meta Baron a book you've read? Let us know down in the comments below what your thoughts were, how it compared to the Meta Barons for you personally. What were your thoughts on some of the artists I mentioned that didn't get, you know, a cut? They didn't get to actually draw anything, or they weren't able to. What would you like to see come out of the Hotoverse next? Would you like to see any other spin-offs, any other crazy cool titles? I personally would like to see a little story about Tonto's adventures, but I digress. He's mostly by the Meta Baron, of course. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Check out our Patreon if you're interested in hardcover comic giveaways. We've got merch, and we design dust jackets. Hit us up at our email for more info on that. Thank you all for tuning in. This is Mike from the Hardcover Comic. Until next time, as always, you stay classy, Internet.